play the rest of it. Someone in the back of the room shouted. I was standing at the microphone in the Sandusky Community Center, my hands shaking so badly the paper in them rattled like dry leaves. Across the room, Kevin Doyle's face had gone pale, the kind of pale you see when someone realizes a lie has finally run out of road. Go ahead, Marianne, he said, smiling that tight salesman smile everyone in town knew so well. Let's hear this little story you brought with you. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear the laptop speakers. But I hit play anyway. Kevin's voice filled the room, low, irritated, unmistakably his. And that was the moment everything changed. But to explain how I got there, I have to take you back to the afternoon I finally drove past the lake again. It was a Tuesday in early October. Cold for that time of year, the kind of Lake Erie wind that sneaks under your coat and reminds you your joints aren't 30 anymore. I hadn't driven that road in a year and a half. Not since Tom died. My name's Marianne Carter. I'm 58 years old, a retired elementary school librarian, and until 18 months ago, I was married to the best man I ever knew, Tom Carter, owner of Carter Auto Repair on Columbus Avenue in Sandusky, Ohio. Tom had been gone long enough that people had stopped bringing casseroles, but not long enough that I could drive past the place where we first fell in love. That afternoon, I wasn't planning to take Shoreline Drive at all. I was heading to the garage to start sorting through Tom's paperwork, something my stepdaughter Emily had been gently pushing me to do for weeks. Kevin Doyle, Tom's business partner, had been calling her nonstop about settling the ownership situation. His words. What he meant was buying Tom's half of the garage cheap. Emily said we needed to deal with it before things got messy. She was right. Still, when the intersection came up, I hesitated. Left would take me straight to the garage. Right would take me along the lake. My hands turned the wheel before my brain caught up. And suddenly I was on Shoreline Drive again. The lake was gray that day, wind chopping the water into small, restless waves. The old Harbor Lights Cafe sat where it always had its neon pie sign flickering, even though it was barely past 2 in the afternoon. Tom and I had eaten there on our first date in 1994. I could still hear his laugh when he realized I'd beaten him at cribbage. My chest tightened a little. Then the radio crackled. I hadn't even turned it on. A burst of static filled the car speakers. And then a familiar piano intro started drifting through the cabin. I felt my hands freeze on the steering wheel. It was Unchained Melody, our wedding song. Tom had sung it badly, I might add, at our reception back in 1998 at the old American Legion Hall. Half the room had joined in by the second verse. I pulled the car into the gravel lot near the shoreline overlook because suddenly I couldn't see straight. The song played all the way through. My throat felt tight. Then the DJ came on. This is Ray Martinez over at WSBK 97.3, the warm voice said. And that song goes out today to Marianne Carter here in Sandusky. My breath caught. For Marianne, Ray continued slowly. There's a message someone asked me to pass along, if you ever heard that song, while driving near the lake. My fingers curled around the wheel. And Marianne, if you're out there today, look for the one thing he said you'd never notice. A pause. It's red. The radio clicked softly as the station rolled into a commercial. I sat there staring at the water. Tom had been dead 18 months. And somehow, someone on the radio was delivering a message from him. I whispered into the empty car. Tom, what did you do? A gull cried overhead. The lake wind rocked the Camry slightly. Finally, I started the engine again, because whether I liked it or not, I knew exactly where I needed to go. Back to the garage. Back to the life Tom had left behind. And apparently, back to a secret I had never noticed. By the time I pulled into the alley behind Carter Auto Repair, the wind had picked up. A paper cup rolled across the cracked pavement, like it had somewhere better to be. The garage looked exactly the way Tom had left it the night he died. That was the part that always got me. The same faded blue sign above the bay doors. The same smell of motor oil and old rubber drifting through the open service bay. Even the little bell over the side door gave the same tired jingle when I pushed inside. For a second, I just stood there. The shop lights hummed overhead. A space heater clicked in the corner, but didn't really warm anything. Tom's coffee mug was still sitting on the workbench. World's okayest mechanic. Emily had given it to him as a joke years ago. I walked over and touched it without thinking. The ceramic felt cold. You should have cleaned up after yourself, I muttered softly. Talking to someone who isn't there is something widows learn to do pretty quick. I took a slow breath and looked around. Red. Ray's voice on the radio echoed in my head. Look for the one thing he said you'd never notice. The garage was full of red things. Shop rags, tool, handles, an old Coca-Cola sign, but nothing that felt hidden. I started opening cabinets anyway. 10 minutes passed, maybe 15. Nothing. I was about ready to give up when I noticed the top shelf above Tom's workbench. Dusty cardboard boxes, a spare fan belt, an old fishing cooler, and behind them, something red. I dragged over a step stool and climbed up carefully. When I pulled the boxes aside, I saw it. A small metal tackle box. Bright red once though the paint had dulled with age. A thick layer of dust coated the lid. I stared at it a long moment. Oh, Tom, I whispered. I had given him that tackle box on our 5th anniversary, back when I still believed he'd eventually take a day off and go fishing, like he always talked about. He'd smiled when he opened it, kissed my forehead, said soon, Marie, soon. Soon never came. The dust on that lid proved it. I climbed down slowly and carried the box to the workbench. The metal latch felt stiff under my fingers. When it popped open, the sound echoed sharp and dry in the quiet shop. Inside, the compartments were empty of fishing gear. Instead, there were 3 things. A folded receipt, a small silver flash drive, and a handwritten note. My heart started beating faster. Tom's handwriting was unmistakable, big, uneven letters, like he always wrote when he was tired. The note said, Mari, if you're reading this, something probably went wrong before I could explain things. You deserve the truth. Don't let Kevin tell you you're imagining things. I read the line twice. Kevin. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Tom and Kevin Doyle had run the shop together for almost 15 years. They weren't exactly friends, but they'd made the business work. At least, that's what I'd always believed. Then something moved outside. Headlights suddenly swept across the garage window. I froze. The bright beams slid over the tool racks and across the concrete floor before stopping just beyond the door. A car engine idled outside. My chest tightened. The tackle box was still in my hands. I didn't move, didn't breathe. After a moment, gravel crunched under tires. The headlights drifted away and disappeared down the alley. I let out the breath I'd been holding. Get a grip, Marianne, I muttered. Probably just someone turning around. Still. My hands were shaking when I picked up the flash drive. Just then my phone rang. Emily. Hey, she said when I answered, sounding tired. Did you make it to the shop? Yeah, I said slowly. I'm here. Kevin called again this morning, she said. He wants to finalize the buyout this week. Says Dad left some debts we need to handle. Debts. That word sat wrong in my ears. Tom hated owing anybody money. Did he say how much I asked? Not really, Emily replied. Just that it'd be easier if we signed things over. I looked down at the flash drive in my hand, at Tom's note, at the line about Kevin. I think we need to slow down, I said quietly. What do you mean? I found something in the garage. What kind of something? I hesitated. I'm not sure yet, I admitted. But it's something your dad wanted me to see. There was a pause on the line. Okay, Emily said finally. That sounds serious. Come by tonight, I said. We'll figure it out together. After I hung up, I stared around the garage again. The same place where Tom had spent half his life. The same place where he died from what the doctor called a sudden heart attack. But standing there now, with his note in my hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that Tom had been trying to tell me something before he died. Something he'd been afraid to say out loud. And somehow, he'd trusted a radio station to help deliver the message. That night, Emily came over with takeout from DeCarlo's Pizza, the kind with the cold cheese piled on top, after the slice comes out of the oven. Tom used to swear it was the only proper pizza in Ohio. Neither of us ate much. We sat at the kitchen table with my old Dell laptop between us. The flash drive lay there like it had weight to it, like whatever Tom left inside was going to change something. Emily turned it over in her fingers. You're sure Dad left this? She asked. His handwriting was on the note, I said. She nodded slowly. Emily's 34, but in moments like that she looked about 12 again. Same brown eyes Tom had. She plugged the drive into the laptop. The computer whirred. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a folder appeared. Emily leaned closer. There's a lot in here, she murmured. Inside were spreadsheets, scanned receipts, and a handful of audio files with dates attached. Dad made all this, she said. I guess he did. Emily opened one of the spreadsheets first. Rows of numbers filled the screen, shipping invoices, insurance claims, parts orders. Emily worked at a dental office, but she'd always been better with numbers than I was. She scrolled slowly. Then she stopped. That's strange. What? These shipments? They don't match. She pointed. This one says a transmission shipment arrived in March, she explained. But the insurance claim says it was stolen during delivery. Maybe that happens, I said. Maybe once Emily replied. But not 6 times. We looked at each other. Then Emily clicked on one of the audio files. The laptop speakers crackled. For a moment, there was nothing but background noise tools, clanking, maybe an air compressor humming. Then Tom's voice came through. Rough, tired. You can't keep doing this, Kevin. My heart jumped. Kevin's voice followed low and irritated. Relax, Tom. It's paperwork. That's fraud, Tom said. And it's under my name, too. There was a long pause on the recording. Then Kevin spoke again. You worry too much. Tom's breathing sounded heavier. I'm shutting it down, he said. I'm reporting it. Kevin laughed. Not loud. Just a short, sharp sound. You really think anyone's going to believe that Kevin said, You're the mechanic, Tom. I'm the one who handles the books. The recording ended. Emily slowly leaned back in her chair. Oh my God, she whispered. My stomach felt like it had dropped through the floor. Tom had known. All that time, he was trying to stop him. Emily said quietly. I stared at the laptop screen. Suddenly, a lot of little memories started lining up in ways they hadn't before. Tom staying late at the shop. Tom pacing the back porch at night with a cigarette he barely smoked. Tom saying Kevin had been handling too many things without talking first. Back then, I thought it was normal business tension. Now it didn't feel normal at all. Emily rubbed her temples. If Kevin was using the shop for insurance fraud, Dad would have been liable too. I nodded slowly. Which means Kevin would have needed Dad quiet, she added. The room went silent. Neither of us said the word we were both thinking. Finally, Emily exhaled. What do we do? I don't know yet, I said. But there was one thing still bothering me. The radio message. Before we do anything else, I said I want to talk to the DJ. Emily blinked. The DJ? Ray Martinez, I said. The man who played the song today. The next morning, I drove downtown Sandusky to the WSBK radio station. The building sat between a pawn shop and a dry cleaner on Columbus Avenue. The lobby smelled like old carpet and burnt coffee. A woman at the front desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Ray Martinez," I said. "My name's Marianne Carter." Her expression shifted slightly. "Oh," she said, "you're the one." "The one what?" She pointed down the hall. "He's been expecting you." Ray Martinez turned out to be a tall man in his early 60s, with silver hair and reading glasses hanging from a cord around his neck. When I stepped into the studio, he stood up slowly. "You must be Marianne," he said. "Yes." He studied my face for a moment. "You look a lot like the picture he showed me." My chest tightened. "Tom came here," I asked. Ray nodded. "About 2 weeks before he passed." I sat down across from him. "He looked tired," Ray continued. "Smelled like motor oil. Kept rubbing his hands like he couldn't get warm." Ray leaned back in his chair. "He didn't stay long. Just told me if you ever drove by the lake and heard that song." I was supposed to deliver a message. "What else did he say?" I asked. Ray hesitated. "He said you'd know where to look once you heard it." I swallowed. "He mentioned Kevin Doyle too?" Ray added quietly. My heart skipped. "What about him?" Ray shrugged slightly. "Just said if something happened to him, you'd understand who to watch." The room felt very small all of a sudden. Tom had known he might not get the chance to explain things, so he'd left breadcrumbs, a tackle box, a flash drive, and a radio message. Ray looked at me carefully. "You planning to do something with whatever you found?" I thought about Kevin's confident smile, about Emily worrying over the garage, about Tom's tired voice on that recording. "Yes," I said quietly. "I think I am." That evening, Emily came back over this time with a legal pad and 2 highlighters, like she was preparing for a final exam. "Okay," she said, setting everything on the kitchen table. "If Dad left evidence, we need to understand exactly what it shows." The kitchen smelled faintly of coffee and the pot roast I'd forgotten to put away. The refrigerator hummed behind us, while the laptop glowed in the dim light. Emily reopened the folders on the flash drive. "This one's labeled April," she said. Inside were invoices from a parts distributor in Toledo Transmission's brake systems, engine components. Next to them were scanned insurance claims saying the shipments had been stolen during delivery. Emily circled something with her finger. "Look at the dates," she said. "What about them?" "The deliveries and the theft reports are 2 days apart. Every time." She scrolled further. "And these shipments? They're big ones. Expensive." I leaned closer to the screen. "So Kevin orders the parts," I said, slowly trying to follow her thinking. "Then files a claim saying they were stolen." Emily nodded. "And if insurance pays out, the shop gets the money." "But the parts still exist somewhere," I added. "Exactly." She clicked another file. This one showed a loan agreement tied to the shop property. My stomach sank when I saw Tom's signature at the bottom. Emily read the numbers quietly. "If the shop gets investigated for fraud," she said, "the bank could call the loan. And that means we could lose the building," she said softly. The words sat between us like a brick. The garage wasn't just a business. It was Tom's life, and part of the house equity was tied up in it too. Emily leaned back in her chair. "Kevin's been pushing that buyout because he knows this might blow up," she said. I nodded slowly. "He wants us gone before anyone starts asking questions." My phone buzzed on the table. Kevin Doyle's name lit up the screen. Emily and I looked at each other. "Answer it," she whispered. I picked up the phone. "Hello." Kevin's voice came through warm and friendly, the way he always sounded in public. "Marianne?" "Just checking in. I know this whole business situation must feel overwhelming." "I'm managing," I said. "Well, good," Kevin replied. "Emily mentioned you might stop by the garage today. I hope everything looked okay." My grip tightened on the phone. It looked fine. "That's good to hear," he said smoothly. "You know, Tom and I built that place together. I'd hate to see it fall apart because of paperwork." "Paperwork," I repeated. "Loans, insurance things." "Boring stuff," Kevin said lightly. "Which is why it'd really be easier if we finalized the buyout this week." Emily shook her head silently across the table. "We're not signing anything yet," I said. There was a brief pause. Kevin's voice stayed polite, but something underneath it hardened. "Marianne," he said quietly, "you've been through a lot. Sometimes grief makes people hold on to things that aren't really problems." "I'm not confused," I replied. "Of course not," he said quickly. "I just mean, let's not embarrass ourselves digging into old business records." The line went quiet again. I could almost picture his smile. "We'll talk soon," he said. Then the call ended. Emily let out a long breath. "That man knows something," she said. "Yes," I agreed. But now the question wasn't what he knew. It was how to prove it. Emily turned the laptop toward me again. "We could take this to the police." "Maybe," I said. "But Kevin's been in this town a long time," she added. "People trust him." I thought about Ray Martinez describing Tom's hands shaking, about the recording where Kevin said nobody would believe him. Maybe Kevin was counting on that. But there's one thing about small townspeople sometimes forget. Everyone shows up to the same meetings, the same churches, the same community events. And when the truth gets spoken in a room full of neighbors, it has a way of spreading fast. I looked up at Emily. "The Small Business Association meeting is Thursday night," I said. Emily's eyebrows lifted. "You want to confront him there?" I nodded slowly. "If Kevin wants to talk about the garage in front of the whole town," I closed the laptop, "then the whole town deserves to hear the rest of the story." Emily studied me for a moment. Then she smiled. Dad would have liked that plan. I looked at the flash drive on the table. Tom had started this fight, but now it was my turn to finish it. Thursday night in Sandusky means folding chairs, coffee, and foam cups, and a lot of people who've known each other for 30 years, pretending the meeting will be quick. The Sandusky Small Business Association met at the community center on Washington Street. Same place they hosted pancake breakfasts and school fundraisers. I hadn't been there since Tom's memorial. Emily and I walked in together just before 7. The room buzzed with quiet conversation. Old Mr. Thompson from the bait shop sat near the front. Mrs. Harlan from the public library waved when she saw me. People still did that thing where their voices softened around me. Widow voice. Kevin Doyle stood near the front table, shaking hands like he was running for mayor. Navy blazer, bright smile, perfectly calm. When he spotted us, his eyebrows lifted just a little. Then he walked over. "Marianne," he said warmly. "Emily, I'm glad you came tonight." "We wouldn't miss it," I said. His eyes flicked briefly to the laptop bag hanging from my shoulder. "Everything okay at the garage?" he asked. "Seems to be." Kevin smiled. Good. Then he returned to the front of the room. Emily leaned close to me. "You ready?" she whispered. I didn't answer right away. My hands were already starting to shake. Finally, I nodded. "I think so." The meeting began the way these things always do. Minutes from the last meeting announcements about a street repair project, someone complaining about parking downtown. Then Kevin stood up. As many of you know, he began smoothly. Tom Carter and I ran Carter Auto Repair together for many years. A few heads nodded around the room. After Tom's passing, the business has faced some uncertainty. Kevin continued. "I've offered to purchase the remaining share so the shop can stay open and continue serving this community." He said it like he was doing us a favor. Emily squeezed my hand under the table. Kevin finished his speech and turned toward the association president. "Before we vote," he said, "does anyone have questions?" My legs moved before my brain could change its mind. I stood up. A few people turned. Actually, I said, my voice thinner than I wanted I do. Kevin's smile stayed in place, but his eyes sharpened. "Marianne," he said gently, "of course." I walked to the front of the room, carrying the laptop. Halfway there, my papers slipped from my hand. They scattered across the floor. A couple people gasped softly. My cheeks burned. For a second, I thought about sitting back down, about going home, about pretending none of this had ever happened. Then Emily stepped forward and helped me gather the papers. "You're okay," she whispered. I stood up again. Kevin leaned toward the microphone. "Marianne," he said quietly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "I know this is a difficult time. Grief can make things feel confusing." A few people shifted in their chairs. There it was. Exactly what he'd planned. I swallowed hard. Then I opened the laptop. "I found something in Tom's garage this week," I said. Kevin crossed his arms casually. "I'm sure there are lots of old records around." "Yes," I said, "there are." The room went quiet. I clicked the audio file. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Tom's voice filled the speakers. "You can't keep doing this, Kevin." A ripple of confusion spread across the room. Kevin's smile vanished. The recording continued. Kevin's voice came next. "Relax, Tom. It's paperwork." I glanced up. Kevin's face had gone stiff. Someone in the back muttered, "Is that Kevin?" The audio kept playing. "You're not going to pin this on me," Kevin's recorded voice said. "Nobody's going to believe you." The room exploded with whispers. Kevin stepped toward the laptop. "That recording is taken out of context," he snapped. But I wasn't done. I lifted the printed invoices. "These shipments match insurance claims filed under Carter Auto Repair," I said clearly, "but the parts were never stolen." I pointed to the numbers. They were rerouted. Mr. Thompson leaned forward. "You saying Kevin stole them?" he asked. "I'm saying Tom discovered fraud," I replied. Kevin's voice rose. "This is ridiculous." But the room had already turned. You could hear it in the chairs shifting, in the murmurs spreading from row to row. Kevin looked around the room, realizing the charm wasn't working anymore. "This is a setup," he barked. Then he grabbed his coat and stormed toward the exit. The door slammed behind him. Silence hung in the room. Finally, the association president cleared his throat. "I think," he said slowly, "this meeting just took a different direction." Emily squeezed my shoulder, and for the first time since Tom died, I felt like I could breathe again. 3 weeks later, the lake looked different. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe it was me. The investigation into Kevin Doyle moved faster than I expected. Once the association reported what happened at the meeting, the insurance company